One of the most frustrating things about weight loss is that we work so hard to lose a few pounds only to gain the weight right back. It's the reason so many of us resort to hacks and hop on board so many different trends because we just want to make the weight loss permanent. Even Tony Robbins himself endured the same battle, losing the weight only to gain it right back. That's why he knew he had to change the way food made him feel, to mentally condition himself so his relationship with food would be beneficial. He wanted real, lasting change. So he created The Body You Deserve. With this program, Tony was able to shed 30 pounds in just 38 days and gain an entirely new mindset that keeps him motivated even today. The Body You Deserve is designed around a 10-day process in which Tony and Dr. Nate Booth help you train your body to burn fat. Even if you've spent years struggling to create healthy patterns for yourself, you'll learn exactly what it takes to make healthy choices on a daily basis, once and for all. And after 10 days, you'll begin to see and feel a remarkable difference in your physical and mental well-being as your body sheds off those unwanted pounds. Achieve the health and fitness results you've always wanted with this risk-free opportunity. Go to tonyrobbins.com/body and enter promo code podcast to get 20% off this product to check out. Offer good until September 30th, 2017. Welcome to the Tony Robbins Podcast. In this episode, we're exploring the next level of recovery techniques that have rapidly been gaining popularity across the country. Things like whole body cryotherapy, photobiomodulation, and dynamic sequential compression. Now, you might think these treatments are reserved for professional athletes or celebrities. After all, they have access to the latest and greatest when it comes to performance conditioning. But more and more people are starting to make these treatments part of their routines, and it's plain to see why. Cryotherapy has been linked to increased blood circulation, an enhanced immune system, decreased fatigue, accelerated injury recovery, improved sleep patterns, and even an elevated sense of cognitive abilities. And photomodulation has proved incredibly effective at relieving inflammation and chronic pain. Dynamic sequential compression is known to relieve muscle aches, boost circulation, prevent future injuries, and reduce recovery time. All of these benefits can propel anyone to the next level, which is why Tony Robbins has become such a raving fan of them. Tony recently sat down with Mark Murdoch, managing partner of Cryo USA, to discuss just why cryotherapy has become such an integral strategy for his own recovery, and what other cutting-edge technology is helping him stay in peak condition. Take a listen.
So Tony, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. Appreciate it.
Good to see you again.
Yep, you too as well. We're here in obviously a really relaxed, nice, beautiful setting. It's probably a good break for you.
It's a very good break for me. I needed it.
I don't think most people have any idea or any concept of how much time you spend on the road and traveling and doing your events. What does it look like for a normal year for you out of 365 days? How much time are we spending on the road?
I go to 13 countries to 15 countries every year. I see about 250,000 people a year. So about every 3 to 4 days, I'm on a train, a plane, a helicopter, or on stage somewhere in the world. But I love what I get to do. The demands are extremely high, to say the least. So I have to take care of my body because, most people won't sit for a 3-hour movie that somebody spent $300 million to make using all the special effects and so forth. And it's just me. You can leave at any moment you want and get a refund. Nobody does. We have 10,000 people at a time that we hold for 50 hours. So to do that is an enormous energy. If I was just standing there speaking, everybody, would be burnt out. And they're not just sitting there. It's movement. The first day alone of the Unleash the Power Within, the first weekend that I usually do for people, I wear a Fitbit and I do 17 to 19 miles, just running, jumping, coming the back, taking care of a stadium at once, right? I don't just stand on the stage and talk. I kind of do an ultra marathon each one of those weekends. And so I've got to be able to not only be prepared for that when I come in and be in shape, but I've also got to be able to recover because 2-3 days later, often I got to jump back on a plane and fly somewhere else and be ready to rock and roll again.
But just the kind of wear and tear on your body, what does that look like for you when you come down from an event, and what does that look like as far as what it does to you physically, mentally, spiritually, all those things?
Well, you can imagine the amount of lactic acid that builds up in your body, and just the pure wear and tear, the clapping, the jumping, the intensity that I do. So there's an enormous amount of lactic acid that's got to get out of my body. There's an enormous amount of inflammation that's got to get out of my body. So, when I was in football, you iced yourself, and that's what I used to do for years. But it's so brutal, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off. You get your body locking up on you and so forth. And so when I found cryotherapy, changed the game completely, because to go in 3 minutes and literally feel completely rejuvenated and feel like 90%, I don't know if it's all of it, but at least 80, 90% of that inflammation is out of my body, and I can go from literally at the end where everything's are locking up and so forth to just back to being like a kid again. It's unbelievable. So I have them at all my homes, and then on the road, I arranged to have one that we take a portable unit that's there. And I found it to be one of the most valuable tools. And all of the athletes that I coach, most of them today have already heard about it, are using it, their teams are. But the ones that aren't, I turn them on to it, because it rejuvenates you at a level that I can't even imagine. And it also just feels good physically and psychologically as well. It shifts your brain, it shifts your body all at one time. I can't say enough about it. Where else in 2.5, 3 minutes can you see that big an impact?
What I've learned is you're kind of on the cutting edge of so many things, but one of the things you're on the cutting edge of if we talk here and talk in other conversations, is just recovery in general. And you're kind of already where most people are now, just waking up to hearing about these things and are going that direction, but you've been there for a long time. So we talk about cryotherapy, and then one of the other things that we've connected on is Normatec, compression therapy.
Yes. Well, I kind of use these, I don't just use one device. I use a series of things to maximize the performance of my body, but also, like you said, most importantly, also is the recovery, because if you don't recover, you're not going to perform in the future worth a damn. So the Normatec I like to do just because it looks weird. Your arms are out like this, you look like Spaceman. But really, we all know the lymph system, they used to say the lymph system doesn't have a pump. But we all know movement is the biggest pump for the lymph system. And to be able to systematically move that lymph in your system, which is the sewage system of the body, to get out the waste, to get out the lactic acid and so forth. It's wonderful to put new things in, but if you don't get the poison out, it's like taking a gas tank and you throw mud in it, and then we're going to throw the best fuel on top of that. If you don't get the mud out, if you get the dirt out, the fuel's not going to work properly. So I'm really big on making sure that the body gets cleansed and detoxed and strengthened, but you got to cleanse and detox first. I find that to be really a simple, easy way to do it. And my wife teases me mercilessly because I look like this crazy man when I'm doing it, but I love it. And I'll just flip on the news or flip on something in the background or some audio or whatever, and just space out for that short time, but you feel a gigantic difference. Anyone who's an athlete, the combination of doing that and then the cryotherapy, to me, or vice versa, sometimes the reverse order, is really, really valuable.
So let's talk a little bit about light. That's kind of the newest thing we've started working together on.
Yes.
You've got the NovaThor full body light bed in some of your homes, and then you've got the LX2, which you travel with, which
Yes.
is more of a portable handheld system. Talk a little bit about what you've seen with red and infrared light, kind of how that's added to your recovery regimen and what you've seen with that.
I believe in trying everything and using your body as a tool to know what's really real, but I also love seeing something that is scientifically proven. And there's more than 3,500 studies on the light and the laser and what the impact of that can be. So I found, the bed is fantastic. And as you said, I've got it in a couple of my homes. I take the portable laser because I'm traveling so much. And I found that to be invaluable because, I'm jumping or leaping, or someone jumps on the stage by accident and tries to hug me or grab me. They're the craziest stuff that can happen. And it's very easy to get injured or to get torqued. And my bodyworking guys, they come and use that laser, and when nothing else works, that thing will open up. And it's so simple, it happens so quickly. The first time you guys came to the house, I was really in pain. My shoulder and neck were all bound up, and one of my pecs was grabbed in. And anyway, the bottom line is it opened it all up in about 10 minutes. So that's why I said, listen, if it can produce that result that quickly, I haven't seen anything else do that. That laser light's truly extraordinary. So I find the three of these, working together. The cryotherapy to take out, the waste products and to really bring the inflammation down. The laser specifically for spots to open it up and to heal the body. The ongoing basis, the real simple is like lying down in a what do you call it, a sunbed or a tanning bed. It's really simple. It's 10 minutes. It's, you don't have to even think about it, and the whole body gets taken care of. That's valuable when I'm home. And then moving the lymph. The combination of those three I've found to be invigorating, strengthening. It allows me to recover so much faster, and it allows me then to perform at a higher level because my body's working at functional efficiency.
Most people say, well, I don't travel like Tony, and I'm not a pro athlete.
Yeah.
But what's kind of so cool in our passion is taking these things that were once only available to really professional athletes.
Yes.
And making them available to everyday people who have everyday lives.
Yes.
Everyday kids they got to manage.
Yeah.
Everyday jobs where they sit at a desk and for 10 hours they're a desk jockey, and real pain
Yeah.
and real things they have to recover from, just life in general.
Yeah.
What do those things look like for the common person? What do you think the impact on just the everyday people's life is?
I see it all the time. It's one of the reasons I'm such a proponent. Cryotherapy is the easiest to get people to do because it's 3 minutes. But when somebody's in pain, the laser is one of the easiest things often to get them to do. But both of them give such an immediate change that I would say to anybody out there, if you're in pain, you want to get out of pain, you got to deal with the source. And the source is usually inflammation. The source is got to be shifted. And these tools are cutting edge and being able to shift that. And you don't have to wonder, go read the science or just come experience it directly. And when you experience it directly, you'll never go back. I mean, the growth in cryotherapy has been geometric around the world as I travel around the world. And people come up to me and say, thank you so much. I heard a podcast where you mentioned it. And I went and did it. And it's like changed my life. It's that valuable for anybody. You don't have to be an athlete. I'm an extreme. But if you're a person that is experiencing pain, or if you're a person that really just wants to maximize your energy, these are tools that you really just got to try for yourself. So it's an exciting time. And as you know, you and I, new technology is coming out all the time, but these three are really simple, they're really fast, and they're really effective. So why not check them out for yourself?
Thank you. Tony, again, thanks for the time. Thanks for having us in your home, and good luck as you travel and keep impacting people.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So what do you think? As you can see, it's not just about managing pain, it's about achieving wellness. But what are the intricacies of these next level recovery techniques? What's the science behind these treatments? How do they change the physiology of your body? To find out more about them, I sat down with Mark Murdoch, the person you just heard interviewing Tony. Listen as we hear exactly how these work and why we can all benefit from making them part of our everyday lives. So, Mark, welcome to the Tony Robbins podcast. Thanks very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sure. So one of the questions that we wanted to ask were, what are these three categories of clients, like types of clients, and the types of recovery that people are looking for?
Sure. What we've seen in about 7 years in what we call the recovery space in the United States is clients will walk in the door and they'll automatically put themselves in one of three categories. They're either coming in for pain or inflammation recovery. They're coming in for athletic sports performance recovery, and that can be from a weekend warrior to a professional athlete. Or they're coming in for general health and wellness recovery. Maybe don't have a great deal of pain or inflammation or an injury, or not really interested in performing well in golf or running or triathlons, but they just sit at a desk for 8 hours a day or herd kids around and get tired, broken down, sore, and just need kind of general health and wellness. So we kind of watch over the last 7 years, and people have self-identified almost always in one of those three categories. And usually there's some crossover between a couple of categories.
Sure, that makes complete sense. So, which category is Tony in, by the way?
Tony may be in a little bit of everything. He is an outlier for sure. I would call Tony an athlete because of the way he works out, the way his trainers work him out. His travel is like nothing I've ever seen before, and then pain and inflammation just from the amount of workouts, the travel, the time on stage. Especially, I've been to business mastery events and others, and just to watch him go for 3 or 4 hours or 3 or 4 days in a row, 9, 10, 11 hours a day. That's a lot of pain and inflammation you're building up there. So I'd put him in all three, really.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting because this whole category of wellness and maintaining health and vitality, and I think it's something that people are really starting to take ownership over, but it's because it's a relatively new idea of, taking responsibility for your own recovery.
Yes.
How do people find you? Because I know, here in the Tony Robbins office, we have somebody actually that we kind of turn to, like, you just got genetic testing. What's that about? Or you're seeing a naturopath. Like, what's the deal with that? What about acupuncture? So it's very word of mouth. But do you find that that's how clients find you, or are there other ways that people are educating themselves about it and kind of opening up this idea of different methods of recovery?
Yeah, both really, and it's been interesting to watch the evolution of this over the last 7 years. When we first got into this, the word recovery 7 years ago really was a bad word. It was, you only went to recovery if you were an addict of some sort.
Sure.
We didn't think of recovery as general health and wellness or even proactive. So while in the early days we had to hang a shingle and word of mouth and as many things as we could to draw people in, now it seems that people are looking for recovery, or looking for us, and looking for other companies that do these techniques and do these devices that are natural, non-invasive, non-pharmaceutical options for people to maintain health and wellness. And they're coming to look for us, both on the retail side in our retail business where we offer the services to the public, and on the sales side because people say, well, I want these for my own home, or I want these for my own business, because I want to use them and I want to let other people use them as well.
Yep. So is that how it started? Were you kind of your own customer, or did you just identify the need in the marketplace for this kind of business?
Yeah, a little of both. My business partner and best friend, Eric Rauscher, is the boss. He is our managing director. I'm the managing partner, so we have a partnership. And about 8 years ago, he had been in, we grew up together, but he'd been in commercial real estate for about 20 years. I'd been a college basketball coach during that same time span, and he was getting out of commercial real estate at the same time I was getting out of coaching. And he literally, at the time, there was one machine in the United States, a cryotherapy device. He kind of stumbled into it, and it helped him with a twisted, a torqued back. He had yanked his back out and had some pain, and did a session and got some immediate relief. And then thought, the first thing was, man, I got to tell people about this. This thing is awesome. And the second step was, after people started doing it and agreeing that it was awesome, and we were seeing these people's get really amazing results from all different kinds of things, but especially pain and inflammation, we thought, man, this is a business model. And it was a little different in that business did not exist. The cryotherapy business did not exist 8 years ago in the United States. There was no such thing. It was ice packs. So we had to. We got excited about the passion for helping people and watching our friends and in word of mouth clients get relief immediately from whatever they were suffering from. And then we said, man, not only is this exciting, there's a business opportunity here. So instead of just building a business, we had to build an industry and build a business at the same time, which was challenging, but good.
Sure. I mean, it's funny because, like you said, it's completely new, and it's probably something that people didn't know that much about. I mean, I know the first time I heard the word cryotherapy, I was like, oh, Walt Disney, right? So you have this idea that, well, I don't need it, I'm not dead, right? So
That's exactly right.
so how
We
do you
got the
overcome that
questions.
obstacle? Yeah, how do you kind of teach people that this is legitimate?
Education, education, education. And when we first started, we said, we got the same comments. The Walt Disney and the Ted Williams were the two most prevalent comments, and we're like, no, we only freeze living people. We don't freeze them after the fact. So it's just been a really long, slow grind of education. And that's really what we're centered on. I was a college basketball coach, which means I was an educator. I think coaches are teachers, and our classroom is the basketball floor or the football field or the soccer field or whatever we're teaching. Um,
Yeah. You know who would
so I
agree
just
with
try.
you? John Wooden. He
Yeah,
he would also agree.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's what we've all followed down from the father of modern coaching basketball theory is
Mm-hmm.
John
Yep.
Wooden.
Molding
But
young men. Yep.
he was so much more focused on teaching and educating, and the results, believe it or not, really didn't matter to John Wooden. He focused on the process, and the results took care of themselves. He wasn't a end-driven guy. He was a process-driven guy. And that's what we've tried to do with cryotherapy, is kind of follow that model. It's like, look, let's just educate people. We don't have to push them into getting in it. We don't have to oversell it. We don't have to oversell the device for a business. We don't have to oversell the therapy for somebody that's got arthritis. We just educate them, let them discover the beauty of it on their own, and that'll make a decision for them whether or not it's going to be part of their life or not. And that's kind of how we've tried to approach it. So it's been just a constant education. What you and I are actually doing right now is we're just educating people on what it does and what it is.
So on that note, can you kind of, what would your primer be? What are some introductory, what is some introductory education for people who don't know a lot about it? And, because Tony goes into it a little bit, but he touches lightly upon it. And so I'd love to kind of hear
Sure.
from you, a little bit more about the different types of recovery.
Yeah, so the three things we focus on, we've got several, but the three that we focus on that Tony is involved in are first, compression therapy with Normatec, and then cryotherapy, which we've talked extensively about, and then light therapy with the kind of the Novathor whole body bed, which is really the first kind of device of its kind. Those are the three areas that people seem to be gravitating towards the fastest, that are the most immediate impact, and also the long-term impact for health and wellness. They're all a little bit unique. They all kind of accomplish recovery goals, but in different ways. And some are a little bit deeper level than others, and some are a little more systemic than others. But all three tend to be a full body systemic approach rather than just a little spot here, a spot there, or a band-aid for pain. Yeah, we want to help people with pain, but we want to dig into that overall cause, and that's inflammation usually. And that's really, if you look at the top 10 killer diseases of man right now, it's all of them have their root as inflammation, and inflammation is the deadly enemy that we've really got to get rid of.
So how do all three of these treat inflammation in their various ways?
Sure. So first, let's talk about compression therapy with Normatec. You've got sequential pulsing leg boots or arm sleeves, or even a low back kind of hip attachment that you can do. Basically, sequential compression takes the lymphatic system and activates it. As Tony's fond of saying, for years they told us the lymphatic system didn't have a pump. Well, the pump is movement. If you can move the tissue, move the lymphatic system, we flush out the garbage that's in the body. That's the lymphatic system's job, is to flush garbage. And that way, when we put good things in, good blood flow and good fuel, for lack of a better word, into the body, it can do its job because the garbage is flushed out. So we know with Normatec and sequential compression, there's nothing better than moving that lymph tissue and getting that garbage flushed out. And that's exactly what it does. Kind of one of the cool byproducts is if you sit in a set of Normatecs for 30 minutes or an hour or longer, because I've fallen asleep in them before.
Really? Are they that
Oh,
calming?
absolutely. They are that, it feels that good. When you put on the
Wow.
boots, it is very relaxing. I guess the equivalent would be if you could imagine four licensed massage therapists sitting beside you, two on each side, and starting at your toes. So 4 pairs of hands on your left foot, 4 pairs of hands on your right foot, and just start to squeeze and knead all the way up your leg. And then start over at the toes and keep doing that over and over and over again. It's
Wow.
kind of like a tube of toothpaste. We're squeezing all of the crud out of the tissue and
Hmm.
flushing it all the way through the lymphatic system, and then starting over and continually doing that over and over again. So other than the great byproduct of it flushing the garbage out of the lymph system or out of the tissue, it feels really, really good, and most people fall asleep. And it's very relaxing. It's hard to start working and put a laptop on your lap in Normatec
Hmm.
because I usually get about 10 minutes in and I'm falling asleep. So
So,
some people like to do work, but it's pretty tough.
yeah. So what does it feel after? Because when you get a massage, that feeling afterwards, you feel half beat up, half relaxed. I mean, but you just feel it's like a natural high. So what is the
Yes.
sensation, and how long does it last for?
Yeah, not beat up at all. Deep tissue work, then you're going to come off the table with a great benefit, but you feel a little bit beat up. This
Sure.
is very gentle. There's 7 different levels of compression, so you can do it as intense as you want. I like the top level. I like the intense stuff. But even at a 30 minutes or an hour after setting of 7, you're going to get out of that, and there's not going to be any beat up feeling. You're going to feel really relieved, really good, really energized, and really relaxed.
So what are some people that you guys work with that our audience would recognize who do this regularly?
Well, the most high profile for Normatec is professional athletes, obviously. Normatec is in every NFL training room, every NBA training room, every NHL training room, and all but 2 Major League Baseball training rooms, and then about 70% of the 362 Division I universities out there. And then they are a major sponsor of triathletes, marathons. Most of these athletes not only use them in their training rooms, but have personal sets just like Tony does that they
Hmm.
travel with.
Yep.
And they can use them on the plane, they can use them in the hotel, they can use them anywhere they can sit down or lay down on the floor. They can lay down and put them on. So you've got celebrities use them. There's been a great picture about 7 or 8 months ago of Zac Efron laying in a pair of Normatec boots and kind of reading or relaxing, listen to his
Looking
headphones.
very cool, I'm
Uh,
sure.
Very cool. You'll
Yeah.
see a lot of pictures in the next couple of weeks of LeBron James and some of the professional athletes sitting in their hotel room or on the training table pre or post game with a pair of headphones on, sitting in a pair of Normatec boots. So um, very widely used. And now people are just buying them for home use. A set of boots with the compressor is about $1,700 or $1,500, depending on what you're going to get. People will buy those for their own homes. People that just sit at a desk for 8 hours a day and say, I need to move this blood and this lymph I need to use this garbage through my lymph system, but I really don't want to go out and walk 45 minutes after work every day. So how
Yeah.
about when I just go home, I'll either sit in a pair or go by, a retail center that offers this service like we do, and just sit in and watch TV for 30 minutes and let the compression move that stuff through my system on its own without me having to go exercise.
Yep.
Which we'd still prefer you exercise, but
But
some
if you
people,
can't,
it's if you can't, it's a great alternative.
yeah.
Does exactly the
No,
same thing.
that's a very reasonable price point, and I'm actually thinking, there are a lot of workplaces now that are trying to counteract the effects of sitting all day, because that's essentially what
Sure.
employees are doing. And so there's standing desks, and here at our office we've got rebounders, and so you can go lymphosize on
Yes.
the rebounder. But this is interesting because a lot of companies, I think, are looking for I don't know, additional perks. That is something that they
Sure.
can offer in the office. And I've seen a lot of like massage chairs and things
Yes.
of that nature. So this would be an interesting thing for a small business owner to purchase and have a little area where people can go use the compression boots. And they have them for
Yes.
the arms as well, too, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
You get
which
them for
is,
the boots, the hips, and the arms.
yeah, that's incredible for people who are
For sure.
typing all day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We see a large number of people come in at 5 o'clock. In our retail chain is called Phoenix Regen Center. We offer all these services to the public. In Normatec, we've got 6 Normatec chairs that people could come in, and you'll have people come right starting at 5 o'clock straight from work. They're still dressed in work attire, and they'll simply do that before they go home for dinner and sit in Normatec, do cryo, do Novathor, do their kind of recovery routine. But yeah, it's included in a membership at our place, so people don't have to pay to do the Normatec. It's already in their membership for the month, so they just get in and use it every other day, and they're good to go.
Yeah. So you mentioned that a lot of people use them on the go. So you'll see athletes, having them in their hotel rooms. Is that the same for the lasers? I think Tony took a picture of himself on a plane once
Yes, yes,
with some
yes.
some kind of strange goggle thing going on in his face. Was that the laser treatment?
Tony's got two different things.
Okay.
First, he's got the Nova Thor, which is the full bed. That's a
Mm,
LED, not laser. So LED light, red and infrared light, full body bed, full systemic effect in about 12 minutes. Really neat device. But
wow.
then Tony's also got a handheld called the LX2, which is also made by Thor, and it has an LED component to it, but it also has laser. And the laser
Mm,
Tony uses and people use for immediate pain relief, immediate trigger point release, immediate areas of tension or soreness. And Tony, from the very first time we used it on him, had an immediate dramatic reaction on his shoulder and pec and neck that he'd been trying to get loosened up and had therapy and done other things, and man, it made it immediate. So when he's at home, he can get in the full body bed. When he's on the road traveling, doesn't have access to the bed, he's got that handheld device that his therapist can use on him. But yes, people can travel with that. It's a class 3B, so you don't need a medical certificate to run that device.
got it. So what is the science behind both the laser and the LED?
uh, Light is fascinating, and how people typically refer to Eric and I as kind of cryo guys, but we are becoming, I mean, we look at recovery in general, but we are fast becoming bigger and bigger fans of light, and really excited about it because of the deep implications. 500 double-blind randomized studies, 3,500 clinical trials of what people can do with red and infrared light. So the theory behind it is, if we can get the right wavelength, the right dosage, and the right power density, and we can take that red and infrared light and shine it into the body, we can actually penetrate into the mitochondria of every cell in the human body. What
Wow.
happens when you shine light at the right wavelength, the right dosage, and the right power density into the mitochondria is we diminish oxidative stress and free radicals, which I'm sure people that are interested in their health know that term, free radicals. That's a
Mm-hmm.
bad, bad word.
Mm-hmm.
And we increase something called ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. And ATP is what every cell in the human body uses for energy. So if we look at it as a seesaw, a scale, when oxidative stress and free radicals are high and ATP is low, you have a sick cell. So if you have sick cells, you have a sick person. When you reduce oxidative stress and free radicals and increase ATP, you create a healthier cell and you create a healthier person. So we're starting at the cellular level, and that's what's so intriguing about red and infrared light is we're actually changing things at the cellular level to create a healthier cell, to create a healthier person. and it's completely non-invasive. You lay in a bed for 12 minutes a day or every other day even.
Wow. No, that sounds incredible. So, speaking of full body, full body immersion, I'd love to talk a little bit about the cryotherapy chambers,
Sure.
and I think that's something too that's interesting because nationwide that's become more accessible, and as people, as you know, as you noted, are educated more on it, they'll go and be interested in doing an intro session. So, I'd love to hear more about how that works, and then also what you recommend for a first time user.
Sure, sure. Cryotherapy is been on the market in this country for again 7, 8 years. We started with the one device that Eric got in 8 years ago, and now there's over 700 of these in businesses around the country. So and still
Wow.
growing and growing
Yeah.
very, very,
I think you
very
mentioned
fast.
it's doubled in growth in America for four
4 straight
straight
years.
years. Insane.
It has,
Yeah.
yeah, really, really, it really has. It's been quite remarkable, and people like Tony talking about it and using it are a big part of that. He's got a great influence over people and does a great deal of good for people that say, "Well, man, I've never heard about this before, but I heard it on Tony's show and I started using it, and it's radically changed my life." And there's story after story we hear of people that got introduced to these things by listening to Tony or by going to an event and hearing about it or by seeing a podcast or hearing a podcast or an interview he did. So cryotherapy is 3 minutes. That's one of the reasons it's so valuable. What's the most valuable thing we have as human beings? Our time.
Uh-huh.
So if I had time, I would get a massage every day. I would do it. I love it. But I don't have an hour in my
Right.
day.
Nobody
Most days
does.
I don't have an hour, and I
Yeah.
definitely don't every day. If I had 20 minutes, I'd get a chiropractic adjustment almost every day, but I don't even have 20 minutes. But I've got 3 minutes, and that's what's been so fast in the growth about cryotherapy is in 3 minutes I can go get the same benefits to reduce inflammation on my body without taking an hour or even 20 minutes of my time. I get an invigorating experience because it is invigorating at negative 260 to negative 300 degrees below zero.
But compare
It's
that
not,
to an ice bath. How
yeah,
does that?
it's really a conversation on do we think icing is actually beneficial?
Mm,
Icing and traditional cryotherapy, what we used to call it, and whole body cryotherapy are really two different animals. We're not talking about a same physiological response in the body. With icing,
interesting. Yeah. In what
we
way?
are we are a topical reaction.
Hmm.
So if I put an ice pack on my injured elbow, I'm trying to reduce inflammation in my joint, but what's my body going to do? My body's going to sense the cold on the skin and send blood flow to keep me from getting frostbite. So my body is
Mm.
sending
It's
blood,
counterintuitive.
warm
Yeah.
blood, to an area that I'm trying to cool down.
Hmm.
So it is counterintuitive. And what we're actually starting to do with icing is we're actually starting to freeze tissue, and that's damaging to the tissue. And there's a lot of debate, even in the professional and college ranks right now, of whether icing is even beneficial at all and whether it actually slows healing and recovery. And those that are on the lymphatic pump side will tell you icing slows down tissue healing, while pumping the tissue increases the crud out and increases the healing. Well, what we see with cryotherapy is we see very quick cooling of the body. It can cause severe vasoconstriction, which is what we're after. That's the same thing that Normatec does when we constrict the tissue. We flush the junk out, and then when the client gets out and the cold sensor is relieved, there's a rush of blood back to the peripheral tissues now that the perceived threat of cold is gone and we're room temperature air, and that blood flushes back to the tissue. Then we get the return of the endorphin rush and the nutrients and minerals that are in the bloodstream after it goes through the cardiovascular system. The body's normal process is taken back to the tissue. So we actually have an opposite reaction of icing. We're not just numbing pain sensors, which is what icing is beneficial for. I mean, if you don't want to feel pain, put some ice on it and you'll probably numb those pain sensors for 20 or 30 minutes. But other than that, are we really doing anything long term? Not really, because we're not really ever getting that severe vasoconstriction that we're after. And that's the difference in cryotherapy and traditional icing.
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's something not a lot of people, have knowledge
Yeah,
of.
most
So.
people just think, oh, wow, I can ice my knee for 20 minutes or I can get in cryotherapy for 3. I've saved 17 minutes. Well, that is true. You have saved 17 minutes, but you've actually gotten a different physiological reaction with the body because the body reacts to minor cold and extreme cold very differently. Extreme cold, there's a perceived threat, and the body physiologically, what we know from ninth grade biology, the reacts to extreme cold very differently than it reacts to some topical cold.
Got it. So, what about on your end? What clients do you have that are using cryotherapy regularly, or some names that people would recognize?
Sure. Well, we are partners with the Oregon Project at Nike, so that is America's top middle to upper distance runners.
Mm,
They use both cryotherapy, Novathor, Normatec, all of those things, and that's led by Alberto Salazar, who's actually on our advisory board. They've been using those for cryotherapy for about 5 years, and Novathor they started using before the last Olympics, and Normatec they've used even before we got connected with them. And then some of the Nike sprinters that train down in Florida also use cryotherapy and Novathor and Normatec. We have installed for about 12 NBA teams, NFL teams. We just installed cryotherapy units in the Star at Frisco, which is the new Dallas Cowboys practice facility, which is kind of the latest, greatest, most state-of-the-art athletic facility in the world.
I can imagine.
So
Yeah.
they've got 4 of our cryotherapy units in there. So both the players can use those, and the people that are members of the Star
Oh,
who work
cool.
out there
Yeah.
can get in every day and use cryotherapy. So that's kind of a neat, open to the public and professional team kind of melded into one. Jerry Jones was amazing thought process to think, how can we merge a professional athletic facility with a restaurants, gym facility, and all these things for the general public, and combine the two, and that's what they did. So that was a cool. We outfitted the new UFC Recovery Center in Las Vegas that just opened with both cryotherapy, Novathor, Normatec, all those things as well. So obviously the upper end of professional athletes is big, but we've sold almost 400 of these devices to everyday folks who either want them for personal use, or more often a dual-edged sword. They say, well, I'm going to use this personally, but I'm going to start a business out of this. I'm going
Oh,
to start my
sure.
own recovery center. And while you guys named yours Phoenix Regen Center, we're going to call ours, whatever name we come up with, or a cryo name or a recovery name, and we're going to start offering that to the public. And it's a beautiful blend, because what we see is people that have a really immediate experience like Eric and I did the first time we tried cryotherapy. They get a benefit out of it, and their first passion is, I got to tell my friends, family, neighbors, everyone I know how great this thing is. And then they start to get caught with the vision of, it would be a great career choice for me to say, I'm going to help people with this technology, and I'm going to get benefit out of it. They're going to get benefit out of it, and I can make a living out of this and actually build my own recovery center, a cryotherapy center, or whatever, light center, whatever they want to do. And it's just been fun to work with these 350, 400 business people and see them put their own unique spin on it, see them bring their passion. When you get people meeting at the level of their passion, really amazing things happen. And I think that's what we're seeing in this recovery industry that is growing in the United States. It's really grassroots. It's not an organized, contrived effort by a bunch of people at the top. It's just everyday people
Mm.
catching the vision and saying, I'm getting relief, my family's getting relief, my loved ones are getting relief, my neighbor down the street. Why not make this available to everybody in my area and run a business out of it,
Yep.
and keep that same passion of reaching out and changing people's lives, which is really exciting.
Yep. And I like the fact that you say, you can start an entirely new business, or if you're already in the medical or wellness space, you can add it
Very
as
easily.
an additional service. I think that's really fascinating for our audience too, because we have so many people in the Tony Robbins world who are medical practitioners. We've got chiropractors, dentists, and
Yes.
it just really runs the whole gamut. And so doing something like this is a way to kind of open up a new revenue stream, essentially, right?
Absolutely. And you just mentioned a big one, a revenue stream. If you look at doctors and chiropractors and PTs, when they're using their own hands, they're providing income, they're providing revenue. When they go on vacation, it's, the old joke, why don't chiropractors go on vacation? Because they can't afford to not make money for that week.
Oh,
Because
completely. Yep.
when they leave the office, there's no income.
Right.
So these practitioners, PT clinics, even gym owners, but chiropractors, doctors are starting to look, as healthcare changes and we get further away from insurance and more to cash pay, they're starting to look at other revenue streams in their own office that doesn't take their own hands to produce revenue. And they've done the math on this very quickly, if you put in a Novathor bed or a cryotherapy unit or a couple sets of Normatec, they can actually usually make more money per minute with those devices than they can with their own hands, without them having to pay themselves to run that device. Their staff can run it, their assistants can run it, and it can be in another room producing as much or more income than they're producing with their own hands. And when they take a week or 2 weeks, or let's get crazy and go on a 3-week vacation, right? The office is still producing revenue and producing income for them and still meeting people's needs. And that's, I think, one of the easiest things is for people that already have business in this space to easily add a cryotherapy device or a Novathor device, or even low-level couple sets of Normatecs just for a client comfort. But also for outcomes, because that's the amazing things. These devices won't be put in these offices and won't continue to grow if you don't get outcomes. The amazing thing is they get great outcomes, so that's why it's growing so fast, because people get the results they're after.
Yeah, and looking at the full picture, right? So you're not just meeting your clients' expectations. They come in, they know that they're going to get adjusted, but then having these additional resources for them really, I mean, I think for a lot of people, they would be surprised and they would be, delighted. And so that's
Yes.
where you're sort of standing above also your competition, is because you're exceeding expectations.
Yeah, for sure. I just had a guy I met at an conference about 2 weeks ago, excuse me, and he was an attorney. And about 15 years ago, I ruptured a disc in my back, and he had just ruptured a disc in his back. And I know how he felt. I could see it in his face. I could see it in how he was walking and standing. I know the pain. And I told him, all right, hey, tell me where you live. And he told me he lived in Atlanta. And I got a friend there who has a cryotherapy shop, and I sent him to her. And he sent me the most rewarding email. He said, I just did cryotherapy. I just did it one time, 3 minutes. I was really dreading with my wife taking my kids to the amusement park tonight because I'm in a lot of pain. He goes, this was the best day I've had in a long time. I was able to go ride rides with my kids for 6 hours, not have any pain, be able to walk around the park. He goes, one session, this is life-changing. Thanks so much. It was awesome.
Wow. I mean, those are the case studies and testimonials. That's something that's going to, market it itself. But if you are a business owner and you want to add this, or you want to start from scratch, and as we noted earlier, education is problems. People come in with, ideas in their head of what it is or what it isn't. So do you guys offer some level of support in terms of helping people who are new to the space understand the technology themselves, help them educate their clients, and help them get new clients?
We do. We do it in a couple of stages. The first thing we want somebody to do if they're thinking of doing this as business, it's not just as simple as ordering a machine and setting up shop. There's a learning curve that goes with it. So what we would like to do is have people come into our office and meet with us. We do what's called a one-on-one seminar, and it's about 4 to 5 hours of this is what the business is about. This is what the landscape looks like. This is what you need to count the cost, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, physically, what it's going to take to start a business or add one to your center. And then we guide them through that process. On the back end of that, next month we have launching, because people have started their own and gone, well, you guys seem to have the marketing down. You guys seem to have this great client flow. You're adding new devices, and I come to your shop, and there's almost a line there for all your devices. That's awesome, and you're growing. How do you do that? Well, as we've grown, we've been able to give them less and less time to our clients because we've got 400 clients. We can't be a resource to help them all. We would love to, help them grow their businesses. So what we've done is create a system that'll launch next month. It's called CryoUSA Team. It stands for Training, Education, and Management. It's an online system, and we've taken all the marketing, all the business growth, a lot of stuff from people that Tony knows, like Jay Abraham and people like that are great business development and business owners and managers, and taking that and put it in the system, and it teaches people how to run their own recovery center or their own cryotherapy business, but yet allows them the freedom to put their own style on it. We've taken care of all the marketing questions and a lot of the marketing assets and all the training, and all that's in the system. So as we've grown, we've just said, look, we would love to do this with each and every client and to be a consultant for them, but there's not enough time in the day, and we want to do it, so this is the best way for us. We didn't need to franchise it and take a part of people's revenue. There's no need for that. So with the system, they pay a monthly fee. If the system's producing for them and they're getting the marketing they need, they'll keep doing it. If it doesn't, the pressure comes on us to make sure that system's so good that they keep using it. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. They get all the behind the curtain secrets and tips and tricks on how to market and grow your business without having to pay us a piece of their revenue every month for the rest of their lives, which is, why we didn't go down the franchise road.
All right. Well, Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. It was really informative, and I think something that everybody wanted to know more about. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having us. We're excited to see how Tony's impacting people around the world, and it's fun for us to be able to play a small role in that.
Pretty cool, huh? Well, here's something interesting for you. If, as you were listening, you were thinking, I kind of want one of these systems, well, you're in luck. Mark has a special offer for all listeners of the Tony Robbins podcast. If you go to cryousa.com/Tony, that's cryousa.com/Tony, you'll see he's giving away a free Normatec. That's the sequential compression system that he just described as feeling like the best massage of your life. And if you call in and order that or any other system, CryoUSA will donate a portion of those proceeds to Feeding America to support Tony's 100 Million More Meals Challenge. So, visit the site today and take advantage of this great offer. The Tony Robbins podcast is directed and hosted by Tony Robbins and Mary Buckheit. Annie Org is our editorial director and occasional host. The podcast is produced by Carrie Song and Tyler Culbertson. Jamie Carvajal and Adriel De La Torre are our digital editors. Special thanks to Diane Adcock for her creative review. Copyright Robbins Research International.